And good afternoon, good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing on this fine Thursday here in Northeast Ohio? It's like a billion degrees, but I love it. I love it. I won't complain. I lived in New England long enough with the winters that would never end, so I am super happy with what we got going on. So I hope you're having a great week. Today we're going to finish up this egg painting that we started on Monday. There's not much to say about it. It's an academic piece. You know, it goes back to the still lifes that I used to have when I was in school, and I thought we'd have a little bit of fun with it on Monday and finish it up today. So that's what I got. I got a little bit of show and tell. What else? That's it. Had a good time last night with all of you on the Tokyo painting. That was fun last night as the open studio. We're making some ground on that. Have some more episodes to film on that to get ready for next week. But yeah, things are going good. All right, let me switch things around and we'll do it. There we go. Everything's so slow. There we go. Okay, now I should have comments. Hello, everyone. Here we go. All right, so this is the painting. This is where we're at right now. I did a little bit of adjusting on the template, which I'll talk about in a minute, but let me do a little bit of the show and tell. It's super easy. Yesterday I visited my friends over at Kufleitner's, which is a big car dealership in this area, but the owner has an affinity for, actually he likes old Cadillacs, but he likes all older cars. So part of his dealership is devoted just to classic cars, and fortunately for me, that actual physical dealership, the building, is right near the house. So I love to go over there and grab pictures. A lot of the paintings that you've seen have come from visits over there. So I wanted to kind of show you some of the things I've been doing. So this one I did a while ago. This is, I can't remember if it's this way or that way, but it's that way. So this is my Impala painting. So this car was at Kufleitner's. And this is part of the Red Series from last year. Hey, Brad, what's up? So this is one of them. Let's see, I can do this way too. I'll have to refocus though, which is okay. So that's the Impala. But then also, what I did was, like I said, I went over yesterday. I'm actually going over tomorrow to talk to them as well. But yesterday I took a bunch of pictures, which are going to be future paintings. But I knocked out a couple quick 543s just because. So here's one of them. This is a 52, right? Yeah, this is a 52 Dodge Coronet that's sitting out in their front lot, which is super clean and pretty. And it's this one's totally looks like it just rolled off the showroom. I don't know if it was restored, but man, was it pretty. Hey, Paul, what's up, buddy? So that one. So as far as I got to talk to them about these. These aren't the 543s for next week. I just did these. And then the other one I did, this was great. Got a little bit of dust in there. This one was cool. This is a 78 Corvette, which on its own would just do, I mean, it's a nice car, but it's just a 78 Corvette. But the story behind this is great. So this one was in their showroom. And this car only has 400 miles on it. That's it. 400 original miles. The story behind it was it was purchased in a dealership down in Columbus, and then literally sat on the showroom floor for 27 years. They just didn't sell it. It just stayed there. So when the sales manager retired, he actually ended up with it, and it ended up going to the Corvette Museum. And it was there till about 2013, and then the car was sold. So I don't know who bought it, but whoever bought it only put about 150 miles on it. It originally had 150 miles on it. So no, I'm sorry, put 250 miles on it. So it ended up at Kufleitner, and it's got 400 miles on this thing. It's crazy. It looks brand new. I mean, it's crazy. So a cool story. So I wanted to get a picture of or painting of that one too. So I just called that one 400. Again, these, if you're looking for these on the website, they're not going to be there yet. I'm going to go talk to them tomorrow and give them first refusal on these. But if they don't want them, these are just extras. I'm just going to put them on the site. So that's it. That's what I got for show and tell. So let's get to it. I love that place. All right. What am I going to tell you about this? Not much. This is where we left off on Monday. I haven't done anything to this at all, but I did do something to the template. If you're here on Monday, this egg wasn't quite, the template I cut out wasn't quite round. I just or not round, you know what I mean. It wasn't smooth. It was very bumpy. So what I ended up doing was on Monday night, I ended up just fixing it with a paintbrush. But what I did when you guys weren't around was I actually recut the edge of this. I didn't recut the template. This is the same template. But what I did was, and I'll show you here, I should have done this with you, but I wasn't thinking. I was just on autopilot. So say this is the edge of the opening and I wanted to change it slightly. With this big thick copy paper, you can cut right along the edge, and it just, you can make it like a micro small cut like that. See the amount I'm taking off here? It's almost like sculpting the paper, which is really nice. So what I did was I did just that along the outside edge here and just rounded this off so it looked more egg-like. Kelly Drake, what's up? Good afternoon. Good evening. Am I the only one who's having trouble with the live stream in and out? Hopefully, Brad, I hope it's not wonky. I put the latency down really low so that it would give a better run. I seem to be okay on my end right now. I can always tell when it's on my end because it gives me a warning on my mission control board. I should show you the mission control board. Can I do that? I don't think I can do that. Yes, I can. Hold on. Let me, I hate to do this. Yeah, well, what the heck? What can go wrong? Hold on. I'm going to move this for a second. And I'll just got to get it back in the other position when I'm done. But this way you guys can see the mission control board. There we go. I'm screwing with one of the cameras now, so there we go. All right, let's see what that looks like. Yay! So there's mission control over there, right there. So yeah, so that's my oh shit box right there. If stuff goes sideways, it tells me there right away. And then these are just that's the live one. That's what we're seeing right now. And then these are the other cameras too. There's me in there too, right there. And also, levels and stuff. So it's cool. I love it. But, you didn't come to see that. Behind the scenes garbage. Now this camera's going to be all screwed up, but that's okay. We'll live. All right, well, that was screwed up. I'll fix that later. Anyway. Oh, boy. Tim, great feed last night. And I like to give you guys a little bit like of a heads up on Monday. So last week, I think it was Michael that I ended up doing one of his suggestions. So I ended up doing one of Timothy's suggestions for Monday too. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I figured, oh, there we go. There's my first pun. Thank you, sir. So I'm working on one Tim's suggestion from the Monday night feed though, so that'll be a lot of fun. I'm enjoying that a lot. All right, so that's what I did. So I smoothed this all out, so now it's more egg shaped. So now when I use this, I'm not going to continuously get that ragged edge that I'll have to fix all the time. Now it's going to be right. So what we were talking about Monday was basically what I wanted to do with this. I wanted to keep it a little bit more subtle than my my reference photo. Oh, I was hoping you gave more than one, Tim, so you didn't know. But yeah, it has been really fun. So and if you want to see what we're talking about, come back Monday. Tim knows what it is. So the egg this is locally. There's a friend of ours who has a bunch of chickens that run around her yard, and she sells the eggs. Anyway, so these are legit eggs. So they're beautiful. They're spotted. They're usually dark colored. They're really brown. But I don't know that I want to hit this egg with that much orange. I think I may. At first I didn't, but now I think I might. I think I do. Yeah, what the heck? What could go wrong? The reason why I'm kind of waffling is originally, see, that's another breakfast pun, not pun, but breakfast reference right there. Sorry, I was reading comments. So yes, I've been waffling on this because ultimately I wanted this painting to be a little bit more subtle. I envision it being in a white frame, so I didn't want the egg to be too stand out. What would have been even better if I did have a white egg, because then you had a white egg on a white, on a gray background with a white frame. But we aren't there, so I may do more egg paintings. I don't know. So since I already started down the road of orange, I may just go for it. We'll see what happens. All right, so what I got to do, and this is an exercise in just in matching colors essentially. Do I have I don't know if I have the actual photograph to show you. Hold on. If it's still up on the board. It is. Okay, yeah, you guys can check it out. So this is the actual photo that I took. And so you can see how deep orange that is. It's just, like I said, it's a beautiful egg. Yeah, I think I want to push it that way. Tim, thanks. Great. I still haven't been down there. The show closes a week from tomorrow. I am hoping to possibly make a quick trip down there tomorrow. I mean, Saturday. So it's a 4-hour drive from here. So it's not bad, but it's a whole day thing. But still, I haven't seen the show, so I would really like to get down there, and time's running out. But yeah, it ends on next Friday. So yeah, I mentioned this the other day. The show cards came. They came a little bit late though, but this is a show card for the actual exhibit, which was crazy to be included on the front of the show card, which was nice. So that's mine, and there are 4 different shows going on at the same time in this gallery, so that's why there are 4 images here. They're not all miniature, but yeah, it's very, very cool. Nice place indeed. The feed is in and out for me here too. More out than in. I don't know what's going on there, Brad. I hope it's something that gets cleared up. All right, let me get on this. What do I want to do? So the reason why I'm hesitating, because this is the time when I go and push this the rest of the way for the orange. No, I think I'm going to leave it roughly where it is. Yeah. This is, and all right, so Tim can attest to this. This is exactly what we're talking about on Monday. This is why these simple paintings can be so challenging. There's a lot to it, and it's deceiving, but you end up thinking about it way more than you should, which is awesome. That's what you want. You want to be able to really dig into something that's deceptively, simple. It's really not. And it gets you thinking, and I like it. All right, so let's not add the orange. Let's go with that. So what I'm going to do, what do I got here? Oh, I still got stuff set up from the... okay. You would think I haven't been working since 6 a.m. It looks like I just started. I'm totally discombobulated, but it was an early start here. Like I said, it's about 92 here right now, and despite everything, it just climate control. You can still feel everything. Hey Dan, I didn't see you jump on. What's up, buddy? All right. So the next thing to do I want to put that? See, this is what I'm talking about. It's endless. I'm going to jump back to this so you can see what I'm looking at. All right. So you see the secondary highlight there? That's a reflection. This egg was from the refrigerator, so as soon as I brought it, I took this photo outside, and it is warm here. So it was the morning, but still, it was warm. And as soon as I brought the egg outside, condensation started on it, and it gave it this secondary reflection. See that blue reflection on the left-hand side. So now I'm sitting here thinking, do I want to put that in? And I think I do. So then if I want to do that, I have to absolutely be sure about the orange, because it's easier to put the orange on first and then do that little highlight than to put the highlight in and decide it needs to be more orange. I know, Tim. Thank you. Yeah, those eggs make it easy. And Tim, you'll be happy to know that my background is color line paper. I love that stuff. All right, yeah, I think I'm going to make it a little bit more orange. I think when in doubt, I don't know. Yeah. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to use red oxide as the color for that. So yeah, red oxide is, it's actually 012, but I have older bottles, so they have the second 0 on there, the 0012. But if you look it up as 012, it'll pop up. Or just look up red oxide, and you'll be able to find it. So put a little bit in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a drop right on the edge of the cup there, and then I'm going to add 4050 and 4011 to it. There we go. So this is 1 part 4050 to 2 parts reducer, and I put the drop up on the top, on the edge, so that all the 4050 will, the reducer will drop down the bottom. That just keeps keeps it mixed basically, and I'll show you why. So if I put the drop of paint right in the bottom first, there'll be unreduced paint right at the bottom. I mean, I'll mix it up, but still some of that paint will get into the passageway where the needle is, the unreduced stuff, and sometimes the brush can't get to it. So you have this initial hit of like fully unreduced paint when you start painting. So this alleviates that. Kelly, no problem. Nice, Kelly. All right, man, have a good one. All right, so I'm not going to add anything else to this. I'm just going to use straight up red oxide, because this painting is really an exercise in transparents, not in opaques. If it was more opaque, then I could add the white to it and really go for that color, and then it would act like a stop, essentially. I couldn't add too much of this, but I'm going to treat this more like a watercolor, where I'm building the values up. It's a little bit more like working without a net, because I can easily add too much of this, but I like working this way because it just has, I don't know, I feel like it has a lot of luminosity when you're working with really transparent layers. And that's more for the live painting. You guys will see it the same way as if, it was reproduced. But live when you have the clear on it and everything, painting with a lot of transparent layers on it just seems to glow by itself, which is really cool. I'm also pushing the reflected light that's on this side over here. There isn't too much of it on the actual photograph, but I'm going to push that a little bit. So again, it's kind of artist's interpretation. You can kind of do what you'd like as long as it's within reason. Well, you could do whatever you want, but if you want to keep it realistic, you got to keep it within reason. A little dust ball there. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at like the color buffer theory from Drew, and it's really pretty cool what happens when you work with a lot of opaques. Now, obviously, he works with both, but yeah, I mean, you kind of need a mastery of both, I think. At least, I do, because I find I use both. Like there's instances when I need that opacity, and there are instances when I don't. So if I was sticking with just one, where everything was opaque or not, or everything was just transparent, which is why I never really like the candies are amazing. I love them. They're a lot of fun, but I don't know how I'd get on doing an entire painting with candies, because they're all super transparent. I mean, they're all really, really transparent. They have no body to them whatsoever. So the more you add of them, the darker they get, essentially. But they never really cover. I mean, they do just by, you know, attrition, but, you know. All right, so I'm just kind of leaning back as I'm doing this till I feel like I've got it where I want it. And if I keep doing this, I have the reference, my little printout right here off to the side. If I just keep going, I'm going to eventually end up getting it to the color of the reference photo, which would be okay, which I'm actually pretty close to that now, even though I had said before that I might want a little bit lighter. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. All right. So the two reflections in this, there's the main reflection from the sun, which is up here, and then there's that secondary reflection, which is actually from the horizon, and it's caused by the condensation on that egg. It's got a lot of blue shift in it too, which makes that one easy. This one has no blue shift in it, so we're gonna have to deal with that. But it works out well because I have red oxide in here already. So let's put this highlight in first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump out a bunch of that, so there's just a little bit of residue in there, and I'm going to take some white, put a few drops in there, and then mix it up, and what that'll give me is a really light orange color. And by leaving that red oxide in there and leaving that orange color, this is going to give me a color that really won't shift that hard to blue when I go to spray the highlight on this egg. Still have to darken the side of the egg, but that's going to happen next. All right, let's see what we got. All right, so this highlight here. Again, it's the subtlety of it that really works, you know? I mean, I could put a super shiny highlight on this, which would then indicate that this egg has a lot of moisture on it. You know, if it's a really sharp, crisp highlight, then it would be like a wet egg, which is, you know, if that's what you're going for, that's great. But I want to keep it kind of the way that it really is, and it's pretty subtle. So again, this is the beauty of an exercise like this. Your brain's telling you highlight, like specular highlight, or you know, like the highlight in someone's eyes, and it's just not like that. Your brain reads it like that. It's like, oh, there's a highlight on that, isn't that cool? And then with airbrushing or painting, it's fun to put highlights in, so you start putting the highlight in and you're like, I want more of that because it makes me happy. And that's when it goes sideways. So we don't want sideways. All right. See if you've got heavy-bodied acrylics with your airbrush paintings in the past. No, Tim, I haven't. I used to use golden all the time because I loved, and I know you brought this up too, Tim, and I agree with it 100%. Golden was wonderful because golden has an airbrush line, and they do acrylic paints, golden does. And their colors are the same across each type of paint that they make. So they're heavy body acrylics, which are really thick and like frosting. They're tube paints, they're airbrush paints. If you buy one color from them, it's exactly the same no matter what style of paint you buy. So it makes it very easy to use different kinds of paints in your painting. Because if you buy, you know, cobalt blue from Golden, it's going to be cobalt blue no matter what style of paint you buy. So it's really easy to mix and match, which is why I love them so much. Brush painting with Golden was always easier because you had that option. I had a lot of tube paints. Createx I had to adjust because they're not made for brush painting. So they don't have like a thicker version of it. So, I mean, for me, since I work smaller, it's not really a big deal. But if you worked bigger, then that's when I would get into that, Tim, because I would need something, you know, for bigger brushes. The Createx is, like I said, it's liquid, and it's a whole different animal when you're trying to paint with a paintbrush with it. So I guess that's the long answer. Okay, we're good. So now let's get the shadow on this. So the shadow on this, I'm gonna have to, what do I have in here? I have white in there. Okay, so the shadow on this, there's a lot of, it's really kind of a umber colored shadow on this egg. So the shadow goes on before that secondary highlight down here. The beautiful thing is, and I'll switch over here again, is that highlight has a lot of blue shift in it. That highlight to the left, see all of it? It's like almost like a pale blue. That's going to be perfect because I'll just use white for that highlight and it'll produce that color. You'll also notice that all the spots are pretty much on top of the highlights, which is why I'm doing all the highlights now. So, all right. So I have white in this brush from another painting, so I'm going to get rid of that. So these two brushes, the Micron C and the Micron B, are newer brushes. The C that I'm using right here is probably, I'd say it's close to 3 years old, and for me that's a newer brush. And the B is probably about 2 years old. So both of these brushes are newer brushes, so I went and grabbed my, oh, they're on the other bench now. I grabbed my original Micron B and my original Micron C, which are both probably, they've got to be over, well, close to 20 years old now. And I stopped using them when I got the new ones, but I really want to get them back up and running because it'd be nice to have another pair of these brushes, just so I don't have to keep swapping colors. I mean, you can run your whole thing with one brush, you know, but it certainly makes it easier to have a couple different brushes, or, you know, a few different brushes for different jobs. I said all that because I thought I had those brushes here to show you, but I don't. All right. Let's go with burnt umber on this. I'm going to put a little bit of burnt umber on this by itself. I am going to use some black, but we're going to wait on the black a little bit. The black will just be the kind of end game thing. This burnt umber, this is I do have another bottle up there, but this one is just about empty. So I've added a little bit of reducer to this because I'm a cheap bastard and I want all the paint out of here. So you can do that, but you got to be careful that, you know, I just do that at the very end, you know, to get that last little bit out of it. So the burnt umber transparently is going to add a little bit more orange to this, which is okay. But it just has a nice darker value to it, so it's going to start developing this this shadow on the side of the egg. Oh, Tim, by the way. Oh, thank you, Tim. Tim, while we were on last night and you were talking about David Morton, I went online while you were doing your live stream. I didn't have a chance to post it, but it looks like you can still. I saw David's book still on Amazon and in other places too. So I think it's one of those deals that, you know, is taken over by someone who just kind of prints on demand, I think. So I think you can still get. I still think you can get that book that you were talking about from him. And he still has videos up. There's some video interviews from him. And like I said, it had been, well, I mean, I remember David Morton when I was working at Bear Air. And so that was 2000, like the early 2000s. And I haven't heard from him recently. So when you mentioned his name, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a blast from the past. Yay! I love that color. That's wonderful. All right, I'm gonna, yeah, I know, the Aztec that's crazy. I so wanted that brush to work. I mean, you know, work as well as the other stuff. And the modelers loved it. Like, they were the ones who really bought tons of them. So what Tim's talking about, if you haven't been around, Aztec was a composite bodied airbrush. Do I have one? I do. Oh my gosh. You guys get airbrush history lesson. Oy, sorry. It's got dust all over it, but this is an Aztec. I know what you're thinking. It's like, what is that? Looks like it's from space, and it is. The cool thing about the Aztec was originally this company, I know mine's all dusty because it was on my rack here. What was really cool about this company originally, they produced this airbrush way back, and that's all the company did. And it was just all composite. This weighs like nothing. It's super light. But what made it really, really popular, or a nice alternative, instead of having needles and nozzles and all that fun stuff, you just have this one little cartridge, and this has everything in it: the spring, the needle, the nozzle, the whole deal. And what you would do is you would buy different nozzles for different jobs, different sizes. They had a spatter one, all that fun stuff. And then you just screw it into your airbrush. I don't have it here, but there's a side feed cup that just plugs in the side, and you're ready to go. But what I loved about it was the feeling of the trigger. It just has a super long, like, action, so it always felt like you had a bunch of control on this brush. The thing I didn't like about it, one of the things was the hose was crap because it's so small, and it was usually a rubber tube. The hoses would always leak and get wonky, and plus they come off the back of the brush, and I wasn't overly used to that. Again, that's just a personal thing. The shape was really cool, very ergonomic and fun stuff. It was never super refined. Like they had, I think this is the fine tip on it, but you couldn't really get, super detail with it. I mean, it was good, but it as I always say, if you make an all-purpose brush, it's like a jack of all trades but master of none. This is a good example of that. This did everything. I mean, you could do everything with it, but it really didn't hit the extremes super well. One of the things I didn't like about them, and I didn't do it to this one, but it has these like little crown caps on it. I would just cut these off so that you could get really close. And the other thing that happened too, what happened was after Aztec built this and made it, they sold it to Testors, which is the model company. And Testors made a bunch of changes to it. Like they used to be able to take this brush apart. There were screws on this thing, and you could unscrew it and take it apart and kind of get in it. When Testors took it over, they made it all one thing. So if anything happens to this, you're out of luck. Or you just have to get a new one. So that's the Aztec. Kind of fun. There you go. Hello, Robert. So yeah, this has not seen air or paint through it in a long time. But it's fun. Where were we? We're painting brown stuff. Yeah, I don't even think I have a quick connect for that anymore, which I would certainly fire that up for you so you could see it, but all right. I like it, and after all that waffling, it's roughly the same as the reference now. So again, I end up just like not paying attention and just kind of copying the photo. Yeah, it was a great idea. Like I said, I wanted it so bad to perform better than it did, and it wasn't. Again, I'm being me. I was expecting more of it than it was even designed for. Like they never build it as the super highest detail airbrush you're ever going to use. They never said that. It's just super versatile. However, like I said, when Testors took it over, it became such a popular modeler's airbrush. And they all loved it. They loved being able to just throw those nozzles away instead of cleaning it. You just literally toss them. Oh, it's good. All right. So next step is what do I want to do here? I'm going to switch. Yeah, you got to switch it back while I'm. No, not that one. This one. I feel like the black is next before the highlight. It's either going to be that secondary bluish highlight or the black, and I'm feeling black. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Again, if you want to challenge yourself, these are so much fun because it's not like when I paint a car, there's a lot going on in that. But if I just want to bang it out, I mean, it is what it is. You can cut corners and stuff, but if you only have two corners, you can't cut them. And that's what doing a simple painting is like, you know? You have to kind of really, you know, you just got to look, you got to look at it all. You got to get it all down. All right, let's do a little bit of black. So for black, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a really reduced black. That's 20:1. So it's really, really over reduced. And this will just let me just put a tiny bit of black in this. I don't want a lot. I've pretty much developed the value with the brown and the umber and the red oxide. So the black is really just going to add that last hit. And it's really only on the side over here. Opaque black has a nice warm cast to it, kind of a brownish cast to it anyway. So I don't have to add anything to this, but if this was the older black, you know, the more bluish black, I would definitely add some burnt umber to this, which is where Blumber came from, because I needed a real warm black. But since they've done their changes to this color, I've found they've quietly introduced Blumber anyway, so that works out well. Lovely. Was I don't know if this was just a U.S. thing or if it was a Northeast thing or just a Massachusetts thing, but there used to be a commercial about brown eggs. Does anyone? Am I gonna like be alone on an island here? The jingle was brown eggs are local eggs and local eggs are fresh, and there was a jingle that went with it. If that's something that you remember, let me know that I'm not on an island in the middle of nowhere. I certainly could be. It wouldn't surprise me. And it goes, brown eggs are local eggs and local eggs are fresh. Saturday morning cartoons and egg stuff. So there we go. Coming along. I also want to be careful of this bottom edge. I think I'm leaving too much of that secondary and it's starting to look a little bit like, you know, unintentional. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock that back a little bit. And the way I'm going to do that, it was lined up before, but now I'm going to offset this just a hair. And what that's going to allow me to do is just kind of close the gap on that and not have any kind of just not have any kind of gap there. And I still have burnt umber in this brush. So that's what I'll be able to kind of close the gap here. I vote for Island. And to anyone I missed on Monday, and if like Bob, certainly, happy Father's Day. And to everyone else who's into basketball, happy Celtics. Sorry. You got to remember, I grew up watching the Celtics in the '80s, the Larry Bird era, and I was voracious with Celtics basketball. I never missed a game, and then I just kind of got away from it. So to see them doing their thing right now, or done their thing right now, makes me happy. So I kind of glossed over this, doing this adjustment here, but it's worth talking about a little bit. So again, I wanted to make sure I had that secondary reflection, which is what that is the light bouncing off the surface and then bouncing back up on the egg and illuminating the egg a little bit. Now we're looking pretty much straight down on this, so you're not going to see too much of it. And in fact, in the reference photo, there is none of it. There is, but you can't see it. Like if you look at the bottom of the egg, you can start to see it, but really you'd have to get down low to see that. But I want to push that on this, so that's what I'm doing here. But when I left it, I left too much of it. So the nice thing about it is you just kind of bounce back and forth. You know, like if you're going to do stuff like that, and make those adjustments on the fly. And this is the fun part about taking the reference and then kind of making it your own. Again, in the end, it's all subtle. You know, unless you see both side by side, it's going to be what it's going to be. But yeah, there is a nice secondary highlight on this side too, which I think I'm going to keep. The Peoples, thank you, bud. Thanks. So no takers on the egg song, huh? That's a bummer. I also have to fix this shadow too, so we got to get that. Are you guys focused? I hope you're focused after all that. I think you are. Yeah. Good. Okay, so now we'll put this back because I'm happy with that. Now we'll do the highlight. The blue highlight. Do I have a brush that will work for this? Probably, yeah. Yeah, we'll use Mike's. No, we'll use Mike's brush. Yeah, we will. If you guys have any questions, just yell them out. Let's see what, I don't know, I haven't used Mike's brush in a while, so we'll see what kind of condition this is in. It's going to work. So yeah, this is Mike's brush, the Rich Pen, or the Mojo. So I'll use this for the white, and because I don't need much of it, but I also need to kind of have it under control. So we'll do a little practice here on the paper. Yeah, it's kind of spraying by itself, which it's just not surprising because this brush, I don't use it too much. So if there's any kind of residual paint in there, it just acts like glue and stops it from returning all the way forward. But it's gonna do the job for us here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of keep it kind of far back and start this little secondary highlight. And again, I want to kind of build it up really, really slow. And I just want to lean back and take a look at it, you know, as I'm doing this. Because again, especially at this point, it's way easier to add this thing than it is to try to subtract it. So that's where I'm going to leave it right there. It's probably a little bit less than it is in the photograph, but I like it. I'm going to leave it there. All right, so the next up are the spots. So here's the thing about the spots. Let me flip this over. No, can I do it? No, I'll just grab another piece of paper. Okay, so the spots on this, as I take the magnet, which isn't going to work, let's just do that. Okay, the spots on this, I'm going to use the airbrush and I'm going to stipple a lot of the spots. But the thing about it is the spots are obviously on the surface of the egg, right? Obviously, so they're following the shape of the egg. So the spots like on here are this way. The spots up here are this way. So I got to keep that in mind. I'm going to do the bulk of the spots with the airbrush and I'm going to stipple them in. But I got to get that feel in there too. If I don't, then it's going to look like a pattern, not really on there. So I can do this. Spots. Okay, good. And these spots are almost black, so I'm going to actually use the black, but I'm going to do just what we were talking about. And I'm going to add a little bit of umber to it. So let me switch so you guys can see what's going on. That's going to work. Yeah. I'm going to add a little bit of umber. Just had it. This is what happens when I don't put things away. Really, what do I do with it? I definitely need a better paint system. There we go. No, that's raw umber. I don't want that. Actually, that probably would work. Oh, you know what? I actually have Blumber, so we're just going to use that. Oh, dumbass. It's literally sitting right in front of me. Put some of that out. So I've got black in here. This just saves me from having to clean out the brush, because this is the color I'm wanting anyway. I've been learning about value compression a lot, not something talked about too much in art school. That's interesting, Tim. I'm curious to hear what you're finding out about that. All right, so I've got the umber in here. This may not be thick enough to do this, but we're going to give it a shot. And I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little pressure, the air valve here. This actually, my little Grex valve finally gave out. So if I don't push it in, it just spins and spins. So I think that's me being too rough on it. So if I push it in, the threads actually catch and then it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this way down just so I get kind of a stipple effect out of the brush. Here we go. So now what I can do is I can kind of run over this thing and start to put the spots in. Now again, real quick, doing it this way, where's my pencil? doing it this way puts the dots, and the dots are just completely round. This marker's dead, but so I can do this for a lot of the dots, but I can't do this for all the dots, and we'll get there, I promise. So we'll just start with these, just kind of putting in the general speckles here. And they do vary in size, so this is all giving me one size speckle. So if I increase the pressure a little bit, it's going to give me a little bit smaller speckle. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to get the bigger speckles on here yet, because those are what I'm going to put on. I'm going to use for the the directional speckles. I so wish that I did a lot of pointillism in college. I really like that style. And I did it alongside of the airbrush, but I didn't realize that you could do like you could do a lot of the pointillism with the airbrush. Had I known that at the time, I probably would have done a lot more of it. But I wasn't that adventurous with the airbrush at that time. So, all right, so that's good. Now, just grab the paintbrush. I've got black down here, and I've got umber up here. What more umber than that? A lot more umber. All right, there we go. The paintbrush will always put things down darker than the airbrush, just because the airbrush just generally puts things in more transparently out of the gate. So when you're dealing with the airbrush, or a paintbrush, you got to keep that in mind. Okay, so now what I can do, is this thick enough? No, of course not. Let's thicken that up a little bit. Oh, that's much better. Again, you know, that umber is really thin. So, all right, so now what I can do is I can just pick kind of storytelling dots, as it were. I can take this off now. So the storytelling dots are going to be in the direction that we were just talking about. So as I run around the egg, I can make these more dash-like speckles. And I've done the bulk of the work with the airbrush. So all the bulk of the speckles are already in. But I can add the ones that tell the story with the paintbrush. Got the egg jingle really jammed in my head now. Dave, what's up, buddy? I should be wearing my glove here because it's a good chance I'm putting finger oil on the corner of this, but I also don't know what I did with my glove. So it's fun. These directional spots are going to tell the story while I cheated and did all the other dots with the airbrush. There are a lot of dots, a lot of spots on these. Yeah, I did get an education. Marge is the baker, and she grew up with livestock and all that fun stuff. So I've been getting my education on what makes a good egg and how to tell eggs, and from one from another, and a lot of stuff I didn't know. Partially because I was a dumb bachelor, but also because I grew up getting eggs from a store. How are we feeling about that? I'm feeling pretty good about that. All right. Yeah. Feel good about that. Okay, so now I got to resolve this edge here. This edge is pretty wonky, but overall, I also don't know how this painting is going to be in the end. I mean, originally, like when I took the photo, it was like this, but then I was thinking like, oh, that would look better like that, which it probably does. Well, that's pretty cool too. I don't know. I'm gonna have to make a decision though when I sign it, which I I don't know. All right, so to get this cleaned up, this is fun. Again, and it's about everything on this, right? So I could put the template back on here and spray it again, but that's going to change the value of this shadow, and that could be okay. You know, I could make the shadow a little bit darker and then fix the gap, but I like the shadow where it is. So what I'm going to end up doing to fix that is I'm going to end up just kind of painting it by hand. So what I need to do is I got to kind of match that shadow color right there. So I used a little bit of daylight blue for that shadow and black. So I'll make a really thin version of that here, but what I also got to do is I got to add some white to it, because again the paintbrush is going to put it down a little bit differently, well, a lot different than the airbrush will. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to try to like just take the curse off, and it's going to be more white. And again, what I'm doing is I'm matching that shadow color. Ah, thank you. Yeah, it's fun, right? Spots make it. Which, Tim, you know, because they always abused us. They just put the white egg with nothing on it, on the white sheet, and that's what you had to deal with. It's like, go ahead, go to town. Which again, you know, if you get a chance, if you're looking for a fun challenge, those white on white still lives, you know, they teach you a lot for sure. They're not easy, you know. But they, like one of my favorite 543s of all time was someone had suggested an origami swan, and I did the white origami swan on the kind of a light gray background with just a touch of highlights on the folded edges, and it was one of my favorite 543s. Like that was one of the ones I was like, oh, I'm going to keep this one. But you know, it ended up going, which is great. Someone else is enjoying it, but yeah, I love the white on white paintings. All right, so right out of the gate, I'm a little bit light, but that's okay because I've got the color here with different values of it because I didn't mix it all up. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the darker one now, and I'm just going to go over that again, real lightly, just kind of tinting it until it really matches, you know, that. It looks like it's not matching to you guys. It looks like it's still light, but it's actually wet. So yeah, I love it. This side has a little bit of overspray on it, so we're gonna use some of this lighter color to kind of start to cover that as well. But I'm feeling good about this. Yeah, I'll tilt this, hold on. So I tilt this, that repair seems a little bit better. See what I mean? It's still a little bit light, but we're going to take care of that right now. So now at this point I've taken the curse off that, meaning I've got it a lot closer than it was. Do I have black? Oh no, I have umber, but that's not going to work. Okay, I need black. Oh, press just out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the template and just airbrush a little bit of black on this where I did the repair, and that'll blend it all together and you'll never see it. So do I want to take a chance? Nope, I don't. Not at this point. So not taking a chance means I'm going to cover up the background here just in case that goes sideways and I fade out a little bit farther than I wanted to. I definitely don't want any black out here. I'm not going to spray this whole thing like that, but I just want to make sure that I don't get anything on the background at this point because I don't want to do that repair. And I need a template that's a little bit bigger. What do we got? What do we got? This one. Oy. Grab our #1 template, FH1. Just I know that it's going to have something that I can use. And all I really need is just this arch here. I'm not going all the way around, I'm just using it to get to the repair. I still want to meet and shake Eddie Young's hand for these templates, this one and the other one. They are so like, no matter what you have going on, that's not going to work. no matter what you have going on, there's always an edge of this thing that's going to work, or the other one. Did I already put the black in? Yeah, I did. Lovely. All right, so the black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray on the template and let the overspray kind of like kick out onto the background, and that's what's going to do the work for me. Really light, just kind of blending that out. The bottom edge of that thing is kind of caught up, and there's no, you know, there's no little edge there, which I like. Yeah, Eddie Young. If you don't know, Eddie Young is one of those guys. Like in the early '90s, Eddie Young's illustrations were everywhere. Him and Michael Casey, and they were really the founding fathers of like modern like template use and special effects. And there were a lot of guys doing it, but these guys really brought it out there. And Eddie Young came up with the first freehand templates. Just amazing. And yeah, I think he went on to do digital art, and I know he's still doing stuff. But uh-oh, what happened, Dan? Did I screw something up? Oh, how's your baking going? Oh, it's not going well. And it's not going well because it's 150 degrees. So unfortunately, with what she does with those sugar cookies, they're very susceptible to heat and humidity, so it's slowing her way down. But she's doing good. She's getting them done. So now what I'm going to do with the black is I'm just going to kind of connect all the dots value-wise. And what I can do is I can add a little bit more in the shadow. I can let it bleed out a little bit more. I mean, shadow on the egg. And then I can let it bleed out a little bit on the actual shadow on the surface, just enough to kind of tie it together. Can add a little bit more. I think I want a little bit more of the shadow up here. And again, it's all about doing a little bit and then stepping back and looking at what you got. You know, it's so much easier to add a little bit more than to try to take stuff away. Dan, what did I miss? What's uh-oh? Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think I need... All right, so here's the other thing. You get to a point with something like this where it's like, oh, maybe I should do a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that. And when I start to really question myself, that's when I just stop. I say, okay, you know what? Just leave it alone. I can always come back to it tomorrow. I can always look at it and come back to it tomorrow. But again, if I make a decision and it's not the right decision, then that means, you know, a repair, which could take a while. The feed was cutting in and out. Oh, it's okay now. Okay, good, Dan. Now the last and final thing is what the hell do I do for orientation on this? So I'm going to switch you out. No, I can't. It's going to be wonky, but because I moved this camera, but there's the overhead cam. So that's the way I had originally intended this from the cutout. But I do like that too. I'm thinking any more than that, like obviously the upside down egg, I don't think that's going to work. And believe it or not, I think the original, that's the original photograph, and I don't like that as much. So it's either going to be this way or this way. You guys type it in. So it's A or B. So B is the more vertical one. A is more horizontal to the left, which I also don't mind. It's got more. This is so cool that you know, the fun stuff about composition is what it does to a painting. When it's like this has a lot more movement to it. You got this huge like sweep, like we're going this way. That's what this gives you when it's like this. When it's more vertical like this, it's actually much more still. You know, it just kind of, the egg is just kind of there. It just kind of sits there, which is fine. I mean, that's good. I don't think there's either way. So again, I'll let you guys decide. So we're going A, which has got all that kind of sideways movement, or B, which is more upright. So whoever's on, let me know. I'll switch back to the other camera now too because that one's wonky. Bobby, what's up, buddy? Bob says B, which is the way I have it. M, definitely. Thank you, Tim. Love it. All right, B's the winner, so that's what we're going to do. And the reason why that makes a big difference is because I got to sign this thing. Now, the other thing, I can't sign this in black. That's too much. So we're going to sign this in gray. So we got to mix up a little bit of a gray here. I'm going to use this. These cups are great. I just reuse them all the time. So we're going to mix up a little bit of gray. So we'll take some white and we'll take some black. Maybe that's too much black. Oh well. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. That's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Eh, it's a little bit too much black. Let's dump a little bit of that out. Add more white to that. That's better. That's better. M. All right. So now just grab some of this. I think you guys have seen me do this before, and if you haven't, I do a whole Tech Tuesday on it. So this is my little split nib pen from my Uncle Mick. So I just take a little bit of the paint and put it on there, and then that fills up the little hole, which is the well in that pen. This may not be dark enough, but I think it's going to be. We have no choice. We're going for it. So now I got to tilt this up at an angle because that's the way this pen works. Get it going here, prime the pump. Yeah, this is perfect. This is the advantage of working with a liquid acrylic. You can't do this unless you reduce it with a you know, just a tube acrylic. You'd have to get it into a real like liquid. But with if it's thin enough, you know, it'll work through these pens, which is amazing. So I've worked really hard to try to find a good way to sign these paintings. Like when I need to sign it in white, like I couldn't find a good white small enough marker or pen or whatever. So when I came across this, and like I said, I had this, my uncle gave this to me, and I've had it forever. I'm like, wow, that works. So there you go. Now as that dries, that's going to get darker too. Hold on. Actually, use the airbrush. It's probably easier. Excuse me. Here we go. So there's our not in your face signature. There's our egg. And we have done it. We've done a thing. We've made an egg. So now what I'm going to do, actually I'll do this with you guys because I can. I'll do one little coat of this just so you can see it, but I'll do the rest of it in the spray booth. So this is my little Grex Tritium brush here. Hold on. It's my little Grex brush here, little spray gun. So I'm going to use a little bit of satin on this. And I have said this before, so this is the UVLS Clear. In this bottle, I've actually pre-reduced this because I use this stuff all the time on 543s. So normally, I mean, I don't pre-reduce this, but I'll just drop some of this in there. And then it's one light coat to start. Like I said, this should be done in the spray booth, but what I do for you guys. Holding my breath. There we go. So now it's got the first round of clear on it. And what's going to happen is I'll probably put probably about 2 or 3 more coats on this, and that will kind of even everything out. You won't see the variation between the paintbrush and the airbrush stuff, and just protects it really well. But there you go. Thank you, Roberto. So surprisingly, as promised, you're going to have cameras everywhere, but we're doing it. That shouldn't be there. That should be up there, but we'll move that after. Yeah, so we did it. We did a thing. We got it finished. I may want to lighten that highlight up, or I may want to stop looking at it, because the more I look at it, the more I'm going to want to touch it, and then I'm going to ruin it. So maybe I'll do that. So there we have it. So thank you all very much. You guys are amazing. Thank you to all the members who are here and who are watching this after. You guys really keep things going. Your generosity is amazing. Anyone who comments, likes, shares, all that stuff is just gigantic for the channel and growing it. So I thank you a lot. Again, I said it before and I'll say it again. You know, the YouTube and the Facebook kind of thing were my goal to get those up and running last year and really get them settled, and you guys are making that happen, and I'm super happy for that. So with that said, thank you. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope you're all stay cool, and happy solstice tomorrow, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks a lot. See you guys next time.